battaglia comincia.
Greetings, folks. Anila Horm here with a World of Warships replay. This is Tanker 4244 in the premium Tier 5 Italian battleship, the Giulio Cesare. During this replay, I will refer to this player as Tanker, or sometimes just Tank. And Tanker is in a domination match on Strait. There is an aircraft carrier on each team, and there are quite a few destroyers on each team. And Tanker's battleship build here for the Giulio Cesare is a little unusual, but it serves him well. And he does have a 19-point commander on it. He does like this ship a great deal, as do many other players of the game. This battleship has very good gun systems, and it's very nimble and a quite quick battleship. It does have a couple of weaknesses, and I will point out one of those during this replay. But this is certainly among the most favored battleships to play in the latest ranked sprint season that we have in 0.7.10. I should point out here that I am working on a cold, or trying to get rid of a cold, so I apologize if I sound a little congested, and I also will have to take a break in the audio or the commentary briefly now and again if I feel a coughing spell coming on. But Tanker is, since he spawned on the north side, has moved to Alpha to help support taking and holding this cap. The Allied Shenyang that has moved into Alpha smoked up here. I'm not sure why. It's very important that unless a destroyer is actually under direct threat, a key role of the destroyers is to spot. And by just moving into a cap and smoking up means that Shenyang is unable to spot for the team, which is a really crucial role of all destroyers, even if they do very little damage. So the Shenyang does successfully secure Alpha. We've been seeing the opposing New York and Phoenix intermittently that are on the west side of Alpha, and now that the Shenyang has come out of his smoke, we can now see the number of capital ships that are on the west side. Down at Bravo, we have an allied Izyaslav that has moved towards Bravo, but he's running into two opposing destroyers. The Izyaslav is an excellent gunboat, and it can definitely hold its own against most any other destroyer of that tier, but he could end up getting into a pincer situation with torpedoes with two opposing destroyers in the area, so that could pose a problem. And then at Charlie, the Allies are in Charlie, helping to take that cap, but the Kamikaze may not have as much support as he really needs in order to protect himself against the opposing V-170 that is down by the Charlie cap. In fact, we will lose the Allied Kamikaze here shortly because of torpedoes from the V-170. Tanker has moved into Alpha and is trying to push back the opposing ships that are on this north flank here. It's taking some fairly serious fire, including from the opposing Oktyabrskaya Revolucja, and we will see that battleship later on. You may also notice that there's no zooming here. I had taken control of the camera in this replay, and that again was a little bit of a test to see how these replays would work with me controlling the camera and not not giving the original perspective of the player. We do lose the Allied Kamikaze in Charlie, and we also lose the Allied Izyaslav in Bravo, but then we also sink two opposing destroyers in quite quick succession, including the opposing Acosta that was on the north flank. Tanker is going to help get the opposing New York here that's on the north side down, so that we can free up the north flank, and we can now be focusing on pushing south here. The opposing New York is going to be sunk by torpedoes from the Allied Shenyang here in just a moment. And there he goes. So Tanker is now able to turn his attention to the opposing Phoenix, as well as the Oktyabrska Revolucja, which is directly in front of him, just south, or just north of Bravo. Now, in the exchange that Tanker is going to have here in a moment with the Revolucja, he's going to demonstrate one of the weaknesses of, in my opinion, of the Giulio Cesare. So the Cesare is a very nimble and quick battleship for this tier, but it trades off with relatively weak side armor for a battleship. Your tanker is firing on the opposing Phoenix, since the Phoenix is offering a better angle to fire on. But in this pass here that tanker is going to make with the Revolucja, the Revolucja is going to get a full AP broadside onto tanker, and is going to get at least a couple of Citadel hits, I would think, based on the amount of damage that he takes here. Yeah, so tanker loses the majority of his health, but he's now also has a similarly good broadside to the Revolucja, and is able to take down that opposing destroyer, or opposing battleship, excuse me. Tanker is making a good choice here to turn away from the opposing Furutaka, because the Furutaka does have quite long-range torpedoes for this tier, and would be a significant risk for tanker in the Giulio Cesare. Tanker is getting some support here from the Allied aircraft carrier, who's dropping on the Furutaka, but the Furutaka will avoid all the torpedoes. Tanker makes an interesting choice here, in my opinion, putting the fire out, which was about to go out. I would have held my repair or my damage control in the event that I did end up taking a torpedo from the Furutaka. And then Tanker is able to squeeze one shot over the island right before the Furutaka got into cover, and he was able to get a Citadel on the Furutaka. The opposing team has done a really good job, looking at other parts of the map, the opposing team has done a really good job clearing out our flank on the south side, and has secured Charlie. Here Tanker is going to fire on the Phoenix. I probably would have fired on the Furutaka, but I think Tanker was trying to support his Shenyang, but unfortunately we do lose the Shenyang. But again, coming back to the opposing team has done a good job taking out the south flank, securing Charlie. But the opposing team, in my opinion, is going to make a fairly grave mistake here, because they're going to focus all of their energy on chasing the capital ships that are on the south side. Excuse me, including the Allied aircraft carrier. The Allied aircraft carriers picks up the fact that the opposing Furutaka is now about to slip through this channel on the east side of Bravo, and will probably be the closest threat to him. And so he's going to drop the Furutaka, and this time he will be successful and will be able to sink the Furutaka. Tanker, in my opinion, here is making the right choice here to move into Bravo. We do need another cap. The teams are, well, now Tanker's team has... well, they did briefly have a ship lead, but the teams have equal numbers of ships, but and Tanker's team's lead is fairly precarious. So getting in and taking another cap at this point is going to be really important. There are no more battleships on the south flank. The Nicholas and the Omaha on the Allied team have been pushed all the way to the 10 line. The Hosho is squeezed in. He's not going to be able to get out easily, if at all. In fact, he will get sunk here quite soon. He's got at least 2 capital ships that are able to fire on him, and the Allied aircraft carrier is also being dropped by the opposing aircraft carrier. So Tanker and the Allied Congo, which you can see at Charlie 5, are going to move, or now Delta 5, are now going to move into Bravo and look to take that cap. Tanker is trying to put some pressure on his counterpart, the opposing Giulio Cesare here. It's a pretty good salvo here at that range. but we are going to lose the Allied aircraft carrier here in a moment. So this is what, since the opposing team has the DD advantage with 2 DDs, and in fact, we've just lost our last DD, the Nicholas. If I had been on the red team, I would have been advising or requesting our destroyers go and focus on taking caps rather than chasing ships on the east side of the map, which they've now whittled down to a single Omaha. Tanker is able to finish off the Giulio Cesare for his 3rd kill. He also has high caliber. He's now at 97,000 in damage. He's just about to get the Bravo cap, but the opposing aircraft carrier does successfully get a drop on him and gets a reset. But the Allied Congo is now in the cap as well, and the 2 of them will be able to cap this point much more rapidly now that there's 2 ships in the cap. Tanker is now focusing his attention on the terrain, since that is the more substantial threat to the Allied Omaha. I think it's 1 shatter. They are able to secure the Bravo cap. They do have a 1-ship deficit, but they have a point lead, which is going to continue to grow now that they hold 2 caps. We know where the opposing Nicholas is, but we don't know where the opposing V-170 is. And Tanker is firing on the Kraken and gets Confederate. So he's up to almost 107,000 in damage. The Kraken is healing, but certainly has few enough hit points that a single salvo from Tanker is going to be able to finish him off. The opposing aircraft carrier is now dropping actually the opposing the Allied Congo. And Tanker in that last salvo was able to finish off the remaining battleship on the opposing team, and is up to 4 kills. Again, we can see the Nicholas, but we don't know where the V-170 is. The Allied Omaha was able to survive the attack from the 2 battleships. Tanker is firing on the Nicholas here and gets 9 overpens and a devastating strike and secures Kraken Unleashed. And the Omaha was able to finish off the opposing V-170 with a torpedo strike. And the Allied Congo has now taken a torpedo from the opposing Nicholas before the Nicholas went down, or the Nicholas sank before he went down, and the Allied Congo is going to flood out here before they secure the cap. Tanker is now going to focus on the sole remaining opposing ship, which is the Langley, that they can now see. He's going to have quite a few disappointing salvos here with majority overpens. I would have hoped that, even though the Langley is very thinly armored, in fact it's just plating, it's not even real armor, the caliber of the shells of the Giulio Cesare at 330 millimeters would have hoped would have been offered more regular pens, with the Langley being relatively angled. But the salvos here are going to be fairly disappointing. The Langley is now going to focus his attention on Tanker. The Allied Omaha is not in a position right now to be able to put fire on the aircraft carrier. Tanker takes 2 torpedoes here. Has to use his damage control because he did take flooding, but he has no more repair parties. He's going to have to work with a little less than 14,000 in health at this point. Tanker's team has a significant point lead now, and the Langley is obviously just way too slow to even try to go and cap anything. His only option at this point to try to be able to win is going to be sinking Tanker and then going after the Omaha. But with about 4.5 minutes remaining, I don't know that he will have enough time to put enough strike craft into the air to sink both ships. Tanker continues to have some pretty disappointing salvos here with a lot of overpens. He does get a couple of normal pens, but it's kind of slow going. It might have been better to switch to HE to try to get some more consistent damage and set some fires. But I certainly understand why Tanker is sticking with the AP. Gets a pretty good salvo there. He's got the Langley down to about 6,000 in health. The Langley is sending another strike squadron of torpedo bombers and also dive bombers to Tanker here. We'll see the dive bombers here in just a moment. There they are. The Omaha is now trying to get some fire on the Langley. I think he's still maybe a little bit out of range. Tanker's gotten the Langley down to about 1,100 hit points. Here comes the next drop from the aircraft carrier, but Tanker does have damage control ready. He does take flooding and a fire and is able to put them out. But the Allied Omaha is able to sink the aircraft carrier. Unfortunately, I do not have the results from this match, but it was a very good match, and Tanker scored over 150,000 in damage with a Kraken Unleashed. So a very good match and a very good demonstration of the capabilities of the Giulio Cesare. So I hope you enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.